Most cheaters do not lose control in one moment. They lose control in private first. Long before the message is deleted. Long before the lie sounds smooth. Long before they say, "It meant nothing," something already happened inside them. A boundary moved. A desire got protected. A secret became exciting. And here is the part most people do not want to hear. Cheating is not always about attraction. Sometimes, it is about weakness wearing the mask of freedom. A disciplined person can feel temptation and still choose truth. An undisciplined person calls temptation chemistry. That is where the psychology begins. Because cheating is rarely just a physical act. It is often a pattern. A pattern of hiding. A pattern of escaping discomfort. A pattern of needing validation from the outside because there is emptiness on the inside. And that emptiness can look confident. It can dress well. It can speak softly. It can say all the right things. But when no one is watching, character is revealed. Not in public. Not in romance. Not in promises. In private choices. A cheater often does not begin by thinking, "I want to destroy trust." They begin with a small permission. It is just a conversation. It is just attention. It is just harmless. But the mind is powerful. Once someone wants something badly enough, they start building a story that makes it feel acceptable. That story becomes dangerous. Because once the mind justifies the first line crossed, the second one feels easier. Then the third. Then the fourth. And suddenly, the person is not shocked by their own behavior anymore. That is the quiet collapse. Not the betrayal itself. The collapse of self-respect before the betrayal happens. Many people think cheating is about the person outside the relationship. But often, it is about the person inside the cheater. Their need to feel desired. Their fear of being ordinary. Their addiction to excitement. Their inability to sit with boredom. Their refusal to communicate honestly. This is where masculine discipline matters. Because a man without self-control can be controlled by almost anything. A compliment. A mood. A message. A lonely night. A temporary feeling. And if a temporary feeling can make him betray his values, then he was never leading himself. He was being led by impulse. That is why loyalty is not proven when everything is easy. Loyalty is proven when something tempting appears and nobody would know. That is the test. Not because temptation makes someone bad. Temptation is human. But what someone does with temptation reveals their level of emotional maturity. Some people chase cheating because they want to feel powerful. But it is a false power. Real power is restraint. Real power is being able to say, "I want this, but I will not become less of myself to get it." That sentence separates boys from men. Because desire without discipline becomes destruction. And the person who cheats often convinces themselves they are choosing pleasure. But many times, they are choosing escape. Escape from honest conversations. Escape from emotional responsibility. Escape from feeling unseen. Escape from the pressure of being fully known by one person. Because real intimacy can be uncomfortable. It asks you to be honest. It asks you to be consistent. It asks you to stop performing. And some people are more comfortable being desired by strangers than being accountable to someone who knows them deeply. That is why cheating can feel exciting at first. It creates a fantasy version of the self. No bills. No arguments. No responsibilities. No history. Only attention. Only mystery. Only the version of them they want to show. But fantasy is cheap. Reality has weight. And weak people often run from weight. Here is the unexpected part. Many cheaters are not always looking for someone better. They are looking for a version of themselves they do not have to confront. With the new person, they feel charming again. Wanted again. Alive again. But they confuse stimulation with connection. They confuse secrecy with passion. They confuse being wanted with being healed. And when the excitement fades, the emptiness returns. Because the problem was never only the relationship. The problem was the lack of self-mastery. A disciplined man does not wait until he is caught to become honest. He checks himself early. He notices the conversation becoming too personal. He notices the ego enjoying attention. He notices the moment he starts hiding his phone. And he stops. Not because he is weak. Because he is strong enough to interrupt himself. That is rare. Most people want trust. Few people want the discipline required to protect it. Trust is not built by saying, "I love you." Trust is built when your behavior still respects someone in their absence. That is the part cheaters forget. They think betrayal begins when the other person finds out. No, betrayal begins when you start living in two versions. One version that smiles at home. Another version that hides in the dark. And the longer someone lives like that, the more they damage their own identity. Because every lie needs another lie to protect it. And every hidden action makes honesty feel heavier. Eventually, the cheater is not just lying to the other person. They are lying to themselves. They say, "I am still a good person." They say, "This does not define me." They say, "I had my reasons." But reasons do not erase choices. Pain may explain behavior. It does not excuse betrayal. This is where emotional maturity becomes uncomfortable. If someone is unhappy, they can speak. If someone feels disconnected, they can communicate. If someone wants out, they can leave with honesty. But cheating tries to keep comfort and chase chaos at the same time. It wants loyalty from one place and excitement from another. That is not freedom. That is emotional greed. And emotional greed always costs someone. Sometimes the partner pays first. Then the cheater pays later. Because betrayal changes how people see you. But more importantly, it changes how you see yourself. A man who breaks his own code becomes restless. Even if nobody knows. Even if he gets away with it. Something inside him knows. And that inner knowing is heavy. That is why discipline is not about looking perfect. It is about being able to trust yourself when nobody is clapping. When nobody is checking. When nobody is watching. A self-controlled man does not avoid temptation because he is afraid. He avoids destroying what he respects. There is a difference. Fear says, "What if I get caught?" Character says, "This is not who I am." That one sentence can save a life from years of regret. Because the strongest people are not the ones who never feel desire. They are the ones who refuse to let desire make decisions for them. And this applies beyond relationships. The psychology of cheating is the psychology of self-betrayal. Every time someone chooses impulse over integrity, they practice becoming weaker. Every time they hide instead of speak, they train cowardice. Every time they chase validation instead of building self-worth, they become dependent. And dependence always makes a person easier to control. That is why self-respect is not built in public moments. It is built in private restraint. The message you do not send. The lie you do not tell. The door you do not open. The fantasy you do not feed. That is discipline. Silent. Unseen. Powerful. And if you have been cheated on, understand this clearly. Someone else's lack of self-control is not proof that you were not enough. Sometimes loyal people get betrayed by people who are still strangers to themselves. Do not let their weakness become your identity. Do not turn their failure into your insecurity. Heal. Learn. Raise your standards. But do not become bitter. Because bitterness is another way betrayal keeps controlling you. A strong person does not let pain make them cruel. They let pain make them clear. Clear about boundaries. Clear about character. Clear about what they will never ignore again. And if you have ever cheated, the path forward is not denial. It is ownership. No excuses. No performance. No blaming boredom, alcohol, attention, distance, or problems in the relationship. Own the choice. Study the weakness. Rebuild the standard. Because without ownership, the pattern repeats. Maybe with another person. Maybe in another form. But it repeats. A person who never faces their shadow will keep being controlled by it. And this is the deepest truth. Cheating is not only about loyalty to another person. It is about loyalty to the man you claim to be. Because when you betray someone who trusts you, you also betray the disciplined version of yourself. The version who could have chosen honesty. The version who could have walked away clean. The version who could have stayed strong when desire got loud. That version does not disappear. It waits. It watches. And it asks one question. When nobody is watching, are you still who you say you are?